Well, a good Friday. Thanks for tuning in to the Gardener's Corner program, a Friday feature here on TV Channel 10, located on Charter Communications Channel 191 and on WKRX 96.7 FM. My name is Rob Hall, and I'd like to welcome you all in to the Gardener's Corner program, brought to you today by South Boston Memorials and T.G. Brooks Company. Should you have the opportunity to send some business away of our fine support sponsors, please do so and let them know you appreciate their support on the Gardener's Corner program. Without further ado, please make welcome all the way from the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service, Mr. Carl Cantalupi.
Oh,
I threw you off today. And that's why I done it.
I was expecting a big crescendo there.
and that is the reason that I gave you the introduction that I did. So, you know, I think you had grown used to my formal introduction, and I said, well, I think I'm going to change it up a tad today to catch him off guard if possible.
As Archie Bunker would say, my ears are receiving me.
Anyway, we are live in the studio today, and if you've got a question for Carl, we welcome your telephone call, 336-599-0266. Again, that's 336-599-0266. Here it is, pretty much the end of August. September 1st is Tuesday, and it's not going to be long until fall time of the year is here, but a lot of things that you can be doing in the garden and in the landscape, and we'll be talking about some of those things throughout the show today. Just a little while ago, before we went on air, Miss Guilford, she came in, and she had a question for Carl, and it just so happens the question that she asked was going to be one of the topics that we were going to be talking about today.
Right, and that is fall webworms are making their presence known. If you drive down the street, you can see a lot of them in the trees. A lot of people think it's more out there than normal, but basically they're just appearing a little bit earlier, even though they call it fall webworms. You know, they're starting their damage now. Many people incorrectly call these bagworms. These are not bagworms. Bagworms are the worms that form on evergreens, cedar, arborvitae, Leland cypress that have the little bags that hang down off of the branches. These are fall webworms, and as you can see in the picture here, this is kind of what you'll see. They prefer pecan, hickory, and other trees to make their webs in. And here's a close-up shot of the worms in the web, and another one here. The question is, do I need to get rid of them? The answer is no, because most of the photosynthetic material has been made from the leaves in the trees now. So even though it looks like you're seeing a lot of damage, there's really no urgency for control measures. Of course, if you want to control them, you can clip them out of the trees or slit the bags and then spray with an insecticide such as Sevin or malathion. These work quite well. But as far as the life of the tree, fall webworms really don't cause a major problem for them.
And for those of you all that are listening on the radio, the fall webworms are, you know, it looks more or less like a big spider web in trees. It's kind of almost in the shape of an enclosure of a bag over, you know, the end of some limbs and branches and things like that. So it's kind of more of an unsightly nuisance than any other thing, correct, Carl?
Right, and then, of course, in the spring we have another worm that makes webs in the trees. These are the eastern tent caterpillars. So the ones that you see in the spring are different from the ones in the fall, and with those that occur in the spring, spraying is warranted. Oh, pardon
Bless
me.
you.
Excuse me. And because they do considerable damage because they start feeding on the leaves of the tree as it leaves out in the spring. So controlling them is warranted at that time.
Well, now, Carl, with all this being said about the fall webworms, you said that if the folks wanted to clip them out of the tree or split the bag open and spray some insecticide in it.
Right.
One thing that we would like to add to either one of those that you do, be extra careful. If you're up on the ladder or something like that, always, take extra precaution, and when available, have someone there to, hold the ladder for you to make it as
That's
safely
right.
as possible.
And never use gasoline. Trying to
Now,
control
you say
them.
that as if you're talking from experience.
No. No, I haven't even tried that, but I've heard horror stories about people who have.
Right. Okay. Well, again, we are live in the studio this morning. The telephone number 336-599-0266. If you've got a question for Carl, we'd love to hear from you. And as a matter of fact, someone is calling on my cell phone as we speak, so I cannot take the question over that phone. But anyway, nevertheless, well, Carl, let's jump off of the topic and let's talk about what you have going on tomorrow.
All right, tomorrow is the annual North Carolina Paw Paw Festival. And we touched on this a little bit last week. We talked about Paw Paws in general, and I thought I'd tell you a little bit about the festival, and go over the talk that I'll be giving, and talk about a few other things. So we'll go right into that here. So for those of you that don't know what a Paw Paw is, it's been a very underutilized fruit. It's a native fruit, and it is just starting to gain some recognition now. The genus and species is Asimina triloba. It's a native tree fruit in the southeastern United States. The varieties that have been developed have fruits that can weigh up to 2 pounds apiece. It's a member of the tropical custard apple or the Ananaceae family, but it grows in temperate climates that have cold winters. Other members of the Ananaceae family include the custard apple, cherimoya, the sweet sop or sugar apple, the atamoya, and the sour sop. Now these are in the same family, but they're tropical fruits. The Paw Paw is not. And the tropical flavor of the Paw Paw and the aroma resembles a mixture of the banana, mango, and pineapple. The flesh that is eaten is custard-like in texture, and the fruits are actually berries botanically. So each fruit is a large berry. The fruit is very nutritious, and it's high in antioxidant activity. Main uses of the Paw Paw can be used in blended fruit drinks, ice creams, yogurt, etc. The fruit itself has a very short shelf life, only about 2 weeks under refrigeration and just a few days without refrigeration. And growers can grow these and sell them at farmers markets, or freeze the pulp for later. Now, back in 2007, I established a Paw Paw trial that I have north of Oxford, and here are the three musketeers, as I call them. Jerome Bakke, Neil Peterson in the center, who is the Paw Paw breeder, and Dorothy Booth. And here's Neil taking a break for a minute, digging up some of the Paw Paws that he has in his nursery in Winchester, Virginia. Here's another shot of him. He was speaking at the Paw Paw Festival a couple of years ago. So the trial in Oxford consists of 1-year-old trees that were planted in '07 in a clay loam soil. The trial consists of the varieties Allegheny, Potomac, Shenandoah, and Susquehanna. These are varieties that Neil has named himself after the rivers. Neil actually went to old Paw Paw plantations and obtained budwood to make to breed the varieties that he has today. And each variety is replicated 6 times for a total of 24 trees, and we space them 10 feet between trees in the row and 15 feet between rows. Grassy weeds are controlled with post and crop oil. We started to irrigate them with drip irrigation when we planted them, and then we just let Mother Nature do its thing after that. The trees bore fruit sporadically in 2011. Frost killed the blossoms in 2012. We had the first good crop in 2013. Again, another frost in 2014, and a good crop this year. I have the word potential here, but it is a good crop this year.
Well, Carl, now you had said last week that one nice thing about the Paw Paw tree is it doesn't take a lot of attention, so to speak.
Right.
You had also said that you didn't have to spray it with any fungicides or anything like that.
Yeah, it's pretty well resistant to insects and diseases, and actually the leaves give off a toxic compound that is toxic to insects. So the insects leave them alone.
And you were also saying that deer doesn't seem to care for the Paw Paw tree either.
Yeah, but I know what does, and I've been finding this out. Raccoons can climb trees.
Right.
So they're getting to some of them.
To eat the actual Paw Paw itself.
Yeah, they'll actually climb the tree, and the varieties that aren't ready yet, the ones that aren't ripe, they'll chomp out of them and then just leave them hang there. You know.
I know you had said that if the fruit should fall, from the tree on the ground, that wildlife seem to like that, but the raccoons have learned to go up into the tree and help themselves.
Yeah, unfortunately. So I don't know what you do to solve that problem, but
have you thought about trying lead?
that probably would work the best. Yeah.
Well,
let's see.
Go ahead, sir.
Oh, I was going to see if the call is for us.
Okay. Anyway, with the Paw Paw Festival being tomorrow in Winston-Salem, those of you that are listening today that maybe would like to attend, we'll give you more information on that coming up. But let's go ahead and get this phone call.
Okay.
Good morning. Thank you for calling the Gardener's Corner program.
Yes, sir. I was going to ask you what that caterpillar is that eats up the redbud trees. Yellow and black striped caterpillar all over the redbud.
Okay, I'm not sure what particular type it is, but the control would be the same. You should be able to get good control if you spray with the insecticide 7, SEVIN. Use the liquid 7.
We lost him. Maybe he's still listening on the radio.
Yeah. Liquid 7 should work, and with whatever caterpillar you have. It could be I forget the name of it now myself, but anyway, the insecticide 7 will work against all caterpillars because 7 is a stomach poison. The caterpillar has to ingest the leaf in order to ingest the chemical, and so 7 or carbaryl actually is the chemical name, will work fine.
Well, it sometimes seems as late summer, starts to come in, that in the vegetable garden and other places, it seems that insects seem to be a little bit more prevalent.
Yeah, you have to get out and you have to look for them. Some of the varieties we have at the Paw Paw trial include Allegheny, and you can see a picture of them here if you look on your TV screen or computer. They do get some superficial leaf spot and leaf and fruit fungus diseases, but again, they're superficial and they really don't cause much damage to the fruit, just the outside. Here it is, Allegheny again, and you can see how the fruit hangs in the tree. It looks like a bunch of potatoes, and you can see that specialized stem that comes off of the branch that holds the fruits really tightly. And it's a wonder sometimes that how these small branches can hold these large fruits, but they do. Susquehanna is my favorite Paw Paw variety. It seems to have the natural balance of sugars and astringent flavor compounds in there, so it's kind of equal between astringency and sweetness. And the varieties do vary differently, because some of them are a little more astringent than others. But Susquehanna, I think, has a very good blend.
Well, Carl, I was going to ask, you were talking about the raccoon in the Paw Paw tree.
Yeah.
Almost like the possum in the persimmon tree.
Uh-huh.
And you had said that the raccoon, if he ate some of the Paw Paw that was not necessarily exactly right, he would move on to another one.
Right.
Have you tasted one that was not, ripe in the early stages?
Yeah.
Before it started ripening?
That's right. That's a good question, because I had taken some fruits that had fallen off the tree, possibly, for banging against it with a lawnmower. So these were really hard and green. So I took them home and did a little experiment and just had them on the counter. And they soften up, but they don't ripen. Actually, they turn black.
Really?
Yeah, they turn black on the outside totally, and then the flesh inside is no good.
So, unlike maybe tomatoes and bananas, the Paw Paw is left best to be hanging on the tree.
Yeah,
and not harvested until they are ripe.
And that's the tough thing to determine, because the fruits are ready when you squeeze it slightly, and the skin, which is very thin,
Somewhat gives.
Yeah. And so the question is, do I pick it now or wait until it gets riper? But then when you got the presence of animals in the orchard, then you find it on the ground or gone the following day.
Well, you brought in a couple last week,
Mm-hmm.
and after the show, you ended up cutting one of the Paw Paws for us to sample, and
Right.
And you said that it wasn't exactly at its peak of
Mm-hmm.
ripeness, but I thought it was
Yeah.
very good.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I sure did, and appreciate you bringing those in.
Sure.
Now, Carl, back to the as far as the Paw Paw Festival goes tomorrow,
Yeah.
what are the hours of that?
Okay, the hours are from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. It's located at the Forsyth County Extension Office, which is at 1450 Fairchild Road in Winston-Salem. 1450 Fairchild Road. Actually the vendors and everything start to open up at 9, and then we have the program officially opens at 10. You can buy Paw Paw fruit, Paw Paw trees from vendors outside. There'll be cooking demonstrations with Paw Paws inside the building, and then right around 10:30 or so, the talks will start. I'll be talking about my trial in Granville County. Other people that will be talking about Paw Paws will include Milton Parker, who grows Paw Paws down in the southern part of the state. And then we also have kind of a hobbyist Paw Paw grower. His name is Win Dinson, located in Chapel Hill. And he's going to be there to talk. So plenty of time to learn about Paw Paws, ask questions, buy some fruit. And I have to say, the fruit goes fast. So if you want to get Paw Paw fruit, you need to get there early. The parking is not the greatest there, because the extension office is located. It's got a large parking lot, but there's once you overflow the parking lot, there's not much room to park on the very narrow street where the extension office is located.
Right.
So the earlier you get there, the better.
Well, you know, Carl had said last week that the actual fruit off of the Paw Paw tree would sell for somewhere about $4 each.
Right.
And if you're someone that enjoys, you know, growing fruit trees or whatever, why not add a couple of Paw Paw trees to your orchard? You do not have to have two different varieties of the Paw Paw tree for them to cross-pollinate as you do with pecan trees. But, you know, if you want to head up to the Paw Paw Festival tomorrow and pick up some trees, and if you're unable to go, if you go online and maybe just do a search on nurseries that maybe has Paw Paw trees available, maybe you could get some of those and plant them. We've got another caller.
Okay.
Good morning. Thank you for calling the Gardener's Corner program.
Good morning, Rob. I was just wondering, I'm seeing a lot of wasp-looking creatures on the flowers and whatever now. They're kind of, the front part of the body is black, and then it's a little bit of yellow section, and then red tail. Are these dangerous or anything to worry about?
Well, yeah, they could be if they're provoked. Can you see where they're coming from or where the nest is?
No.
Okay. There's really not much you can do. I mean, if they're becoming bothersome, and I actually got stung out in the Paw Paw orchard last week because there were some hornets or wasps building a nest on one of the leaves. Just stay away, and if they keep congregating, what you have to do is you have to find out where the nest is, and then you can control them with a hornet and wasp killer aerosol insecticide, one that shoots a stream of insecticide about 20 feet, and so you don't have to be right up on top of it, but you've got to saturate the nest. That's best done around dusk when all the hornets or the wasps are in the nest. So other than locating where it's coming from and treating it, there's not much else you can do.
Okay. I didn't know whether this was something that happens all over and just unique to a little bit of an area or whatever.
Well, you know, I will say what time I've been outside, I've seen, you know, some wasps, you know, flying around, and the first thing that I do when I see them flying around is if I'm under or close by a building, I get to looking around for the nest, you know, not to go near the nest. And I know it is a such thing as wasp having a nest, you know, in like a shrub bush or thick vegetation, where I think their preferred nesting place may be under a shelter or something like that. But that's one thing about the wasp. They typically, you know, don't go after you unless they feel that you're going after them, so to speak.
And they can really, you know, if they can really come back at you real quick.
They can. They're very quick to respond. But I don't know if it's and you say it's kind of like a red part and a black part on the wasp.
Yeah, the front part is kind of black, really dark blue at the best, and then it's a little bit of a yellow. And then on the really tail of the thing is red.
Well, I'm gonna have to start paying a little bit closer observation to the color, but as I've been out and about outside, you know, I do see wasps flying and things like that. And anyway, but as far as being harmful to the plants or anything like that, not really anything.
No
harm that they would do, correct, Carl?
No, not really.
Hey, we appreciate your question, and thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
Let's see. All right, have a good day. Yeah, but yes, the way that those bees retaliate sometimes can kind of overwhelm you, so to speak.
Yeah.
Hey, we need to get a word on for one of our fine supporting sponsors. Speaking of bees, when we were out at T.G. Brooks Company a couple of months ago, they showed us something that they have for sale out there, and it's a carpenter bee trap, and I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
And Carl has talked about it before. With carpenter bees, you know, you can put out 7 and this other insecticide, and after you kill the carpenter bees, you can get some wood putty and fill in the holes. But just kind of the point that I'm making, when you go out to T.G. Brooks Company, you can find a wide array of products, everything from plants to seed to convenience store items. Also, you can find well water pumps, irrigation supplies, wiring for your well, and so much more. So just head out to T.G. Brooks Company and let them know that you appreciate their support of the Gardener's Corner program.
It's time for collards, cabbage, and broccoli. It's August, and as we start heading toward the fall season, we can already be thinking about cooler days of fall that'll be here soon, when we really enjoy getting outdoors again and doing our fall lawn work and our fall flower gardens. It is also time now to kill those weeds in the lawn to be ready for fall seeding. T.G. Brooks Company has the chemicals to do it. T.G. Brooks Company has the grass seed, and they're fully stocked for fall. And meanwhile, if you still need irrigation, they have plenty of irrigation needs, such as hose and sprinklers and piping. For your work in the yard, they have yard tools like rakes, hose diggers, choppers, pitchforks, and pruning saws, loppers, wheelbarrows, and lawn carts, and lawn sweepers. And for your fall flower bed, they have your hardwood mulches and dyed mulches and that really good triple ground mulch. They have mulch in bags or by the trailer or pickup load, and they can arrange delivery for you if you need it. So this year, beautify with fresh pine needles too. And for planting, get you some topsoil, planting soil, and cow manure. By the way, they also have the Pride dog food, including the Pride Pro Series. No matter if you're a homeowner or business owner, they can fill your fall needs. If you're a professional landscaper, they can handle commercial accounts. It's no wonder people from every corner of Person County travel to T.G. Brooks Company. They love the friendly family business there, where every customer, no matter how large or small, is treated with courtesy. They serve homeowners, farmers, and those in construction. They have since 1936. When you finish up the day, you need to have a good meal and relax. Have a good old hand-cut ribeye steak, custom cut to your thickness right there at the store. They're so thankful, and definitely it is appreciated when it all comes together after you pay a visit to friendly T.G. Brooks Company in Timberlake.
Here we are back on the Gardener's Corner program, and appreciate you all tuning in. I want to give a plug and a shout out to our local farmers markets here in Person County. The Roxborough Farmers Market, located on Depot Street, they're usually open 6 days a week in the morning times. So head on by and see them there at the Roxborough Farmers Market on Depot Street. The Person County Farmers Market is open Wednesday afternoons 3 until 6, Saturday mornings 8 a.m. until 12 noon. And Carl has more information about the Person County Farmers Market.
Yeah, here are a few things that you can find. A lot of chicken and duck eggs available. Tomatoes, Italian and Japanese eggplant, Asian breads, bagels, granola and granola bars, large assortment of pies. What else here? Honey okra, tomatoes, melons, peppers, dried butter beans, dried October beans, and peach, pear, and strawberry preserves. And also have an individual that will that has all kinds of natural herbal health and body care products. So those are a few things that are at the Person County Farmers Market, located on Madison Boulevard, just across from the Cookout Restaurant, open Saturday from 8 until noon.
And you know, the nice thing about both of the farmers markets here in Roxborough and Person County is it's plenty of parking. And so you can just take a few minutes, find a parking place, and kind of browse around and shop with the vendors, and shop locally whenever possible, and you'll be pleased that you did. Moving on down the list of topics, as I had mentioned, September 1st is on Tuesday. With that being said, just kind of be mindful that the month of September is the time to fertilize and seed cool season grasses. By this time, you should have the results back of your soil samples. If you have not done soil samples as of yet, you still have time to do so. Turnaround time is right about between a week and 2 weeks.
Right.
And so you still have time to do the soil samples of your lawn, turn them in, and get your results back in time. And that way you will know how much lime and or fertilizer that you will need to add. And again, the best time of the year, as Carl has preached to us over the years, the best time to fertilize cool season grasses is in the fall months, starting in September.
That's right.
When you fertilize heavily in the spring, you just kind of almost opening the door up and say, welcome diseases.
Right, especially brown patch. When you fertilize in the spring, you create what I call a top-heavy plant. The nitrogen goes to the blade, very little to the roots, and you have a soft succulent plant that's better able to pick up the brown patch fungus disease. So the best time to fertilize is in the fall. Nitrogen added at that time will go down into the root system and be stored for next year's growth. And so, and then you don't have problems with aggravating the brown patch fungus. So, yeah, so stick to fall fertilization and use what the soil test recommends.
Well, Carl, this past Saturday, we had a horse show at Person County Saddle Club, and the judge that we had was Elizabeth O'Brien. And she makes her home down in Dunn, North Carolina. And I asked Elizabeth if she knew you, and she said she did not. I was thinking that she worked with the Cooperative Extension Service, but she actually worked with the Department of Agriculture, and she retired from there. Well, she went on to tell me that she is pretty much in business for herself, and she is a crop consultant.
Okay, sure.
And she says that she typically does soil samples for farmers in her area. And she says typically in one given season, she samples about 10,000 acres of soil. And she said that a lot of days she can do samples on about 250 acres. And she pretty much does the samples, and then she receives the results, and she makes out a chart and the layout of the field of where she done the soil samples and things like that at.
Right.
And I told her, I said, I never really thought much about soil sampling until the Gardener's Corner program with Carl Cantalupi, and I said, a lot of people don't believe in doing it. I said, but it really can make a huge difference in the turnout of whether it's your lawn or your garden or your crop fields. It takes a little time to do it, but it's not that big of a deal and that hard of a work to do soil samples. But you could be putting more green in your lawn and less money out of your pocket, so to speak, if you do the soil samples.
That's
and
right.
if you go by the recommended results. And so
yeah, because if you don't, you're just guessing, and there's no sense in throwing away money. And again, a lot of people when they think that whatever they're growing needs fertilizer, well, what's the best fertilizer to add? Well, there is no best fertilizer. the best fertilizer to add is what's recommended from the soil test.
You know, Carl, I just had this thought, and it's going to be a kind of an oddball thought. But, you know, it used to be people relied on road maps, dig the atlas out,
Yeah.
and look which way you need to take. Now people rely on the GPS, and the GPS is really nice. So pretty much the GPS of field crops, gardening, and your lawn is a soil sample.
That's right.
Because the results of that soil sample pretty much tells you the way to go. And you should certainly, you know, look into it. And the nice thing about it, the soil sampling is something that is done at no charge. You actually have to do the soil sample, get the samples of soil, turn them into the Cooperative Extension Service, and then they will get them to the Department of Agriculture, and then the Department of Agriculture will email the results to you. If you don't have email, they can email them to the Cooperative Extension Service, and they can help you go over the results. But pretty much what I'm getting at is this point here. Take some time, and as I've said this many times before, maybe in one part of your garden, do soil samples. In another part of the garden, don't do any soil samples at all. You just kind of go on a wild guess of what you think it may need, and then compare the two in the end and see which one, you know, yields the best.
That's right, and I think this chart that I'm showing on the on your screen speaks volumes of why you should test your soil. You can see this is a chart. It runs from the upper left to the upper right, looking at a soil pH of between 4.0, which is very acidic, all the way up to about 6. Let's see what we have here. We've got to get out the old glasses here. From 4 until a pH of 11. So what you see, if you're looking at this chart, right dead center is that shows a soil pH of between 6.5 to 7.0. And you can see these bands refer to fertilizer elements. And you notice that if you go from the top of the chart at a pH of, say, 7.0 or 6.5 to 7.0, you find that these bands are the widest at those pHs. So what this is telling us is that if your soil pH is between 6.5 to 7, most of the major nutrient elements are available to the plant. If your soil is less than 6.0 or acidic, or greater than 7.5 on the alkaline side, then it doesn't matter if how much fertilizer you add to your soil, because it's not going to do much, because all the nutrients are going to be tied up in the soil, unavailable to the plant. And I remember back, this is going some ways now, back when I got my master's, and was the final day of the oral examination. So of course, you know, professors shoot at you anything they want
Now,
to.
was it an oral examination because y'all didn't have paper and pencils back at that time? I couldn't resist.
That's right. So one person asks, you know, well, there's a guy that comes in, he's a grower, and he said, you know, why aren't my crops doing well? And you know, I think I need to add fertilizer. How much fertilizer should I add? And so I said, well, I'd ask him if he had if he took a soil sample. Oh, no, I don't have time to do that. You know,
Wasted time. Why should I do
wasted
that?
time, but so you know.
And you said, well, there's no answer to the question.
That's it. I said, well, yeah, I was.
The answer lies in the soil sample.
That's right, and so that's why it's very important to take a soil sample and have it tested. You have North Carolina Department of Agriculture. It's subsidized by the state. They use sophisticated laboratory instruments to determine fertility and soil pH, and much better than to go out and buy one of these devices that claim to measure soil pH and moisture. Save your money and just get the soil tested by NCDA, and you'll be much more appreciative of that.
And with all this being said, although it is certain plants out there that like a low soil pH,
like blueberries, for example,
when you are more or less taking your soil samples, you need to make a note on the bag of where the soil sample came from if you are having more than one soil sample. And what I mean by that, if you're doing soil samples for your fruit trees, and then you're doing soil samples for your lawn, and then you may be doing one for your vegetable garden. And what basically happens is it is a little bit of paperwork to be filled out, a very small amount of paperwork. And when you turn in the soil samples, it's on there saying, well, this soil sample came from my fruit trees.
That's right.
Or this soil sample is where I want to plant my vegetable garden. And so they take all of that information into consideration when sending the results of the soil sample back to you.
That's right.
And again, this is free to the residents of North Carolina up until Thanksgiving. From Thanksgiving until, is it April 1st, Carl?
April 31st, I think.
Okay.
Or March 31st.
Okay.
That's what it is. So April 1st, you're right.
From Thanksgiving up until April 1st, it's a $4 fee per sample. And the reason that they do this is because typically that's when they have their heaviest volume of soil sampling to do at that time of the year. So the reason they impose the $4 fee is to try to get some people to sample at times of the year when they were not quite as busy.
That's right. That's right.
We've got a
We've
call.
got one. Okay.
Good morning. Thank you for calling the Gardener's Corner program.
How you doing, Rob?
I'm good. You?
Oh, pretty good. Hello?
Yeah, I got you. Go ahead. Well, how can we help you today?
Yeah, I got a question. Well, I planted some cantaloupes this fall, spring, summer, and they got up, I don't know, well, when it's just starting to get right, they started splitting on the part that was laying on the ground.
Okay.
What can I do to keep that from happening next year?
Probably not much, because especially if the cantaloupe...
Okay. All right, I tell you, is that the only question that you got about what causes your cantaloupes to split on the bottom and how to prevent them?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we're going to give you just a minute to let you hang up, and Carl will answer your question over the radio. But appreciate your call, Bradley, okay?
Okay, Rob.
All right, thank you. All right, Carl, he says that his cantaloupes are splitting on the bottom and wants to know, can anything be done to prevent it?
It sounds like he has a lot of water uptake in that fruit as it's ripening, and that could come about by rainfall, or if he's irrigated heavily too. So a lot of times that's what it's caused by. So one thing to do when growing cantaloupes is to withhold the water during the period of time when the melons are ripening, so you decrease that from happening. He also might have a heavy clay soil, and especially if he over irrigated, the fruits are sitting in that saturated clay soil too. So there could be a lot of different reasons why, but just watch the watering as they're ripening.
Well, Carl, I remember you talking some years back about one problem that both watermelon and muskmelon growers have, is that when the crop almost is ready to harvest, if they get a heavy rainfall, the melons will uptake that water, and the sweetness of the melons will not be as sweet.
That's right, and that's when people call in and say that their cucumbers crossed with their cantaloupes, and that's why they're getting that dull, flat taste. No, that doesn't happen. It's just water uptake.
So with the melons and things, when they're on the vine and they're getting close to harvest time, it's not a good idea to irrigate. I know you can't help the rain, but Well, look, we need to get a word on for South Boston Memorials, one of our fine supporting sponsors here on the Gardener's Corner program. And after we hear a word from South Boston Memorials, we'll be back to wrap up this edition of the Gardener's Corner program.
South Boston Memorials, located 1439 Seymour Drive in South Boston, Virginia. They offer granite markers, monuments, and mausoleums. For more information, visit the website SoBoatMemorials.com or call 434-572-3859. South Boston Memorials have been in business and family-owned since 1958. In-house laser etching is available at South Boston Memorials. They have over 300 granite memorials in stock. For all of your granite markers, monuments, and mausoleums, stop in and see them right there at South Boston Memorials, located 1439 Seymour Drive in South Boston, Virginia, or call them at 434-572-3859 and visit the website SoBoatMemorials.com. That's South Boston Memorials, located 1439 Seymour Drive in South Boston.
Here we are back on the Gardener's Corner program. Let's see, Carl. I know you had wanted to talk about fall webworms. Wanted to talk about the Paw Paw Festival.
Right.
Wanted to talk about a few other things that I don't think we have gotten to.
Yeah.
And we've got about maybe 3 minutes left. So which direction you want to take?
Well, for people that are growing cabbage, cauliflower, and broccoli in the garden, and they're really making some size, now's the time to add a little bit of nitrogen to speed up their growth. The nitrogen will promote good heading of cabbage and also cauliflower and broccoli. About 1 pound of say a 10-10-10 fertilizer banded next to the plant. 1 pound of 10-10-10 per 30 feet of row should do the trick, and water it in. Do we have one here?
We do. Good morning. Thank you for calling the Gardener's Corner program.
Hi, can you hear me, Rob?
We can.
Yep.
Can you hear me, Rob?
Yeah, go
Yes,
ahead.
yes.
Go ahead.
Thanks, guys. Real quick question. I purchased a dehydrator. My question is, after I dehydrate the food products, I would like to put them in ball canning jars. Do I have to purchase those little freshness packs, or can I just put the items in the jars, close it, and go from there? I'm going to hang up so I can hear you guys on the radio, and I thank you well in advance.
Okay, appreciate your question.
All right, that sounds like a good question for our extension home economist.
Carl always saying, if Carl doesn't know the answer, I surely don't know the answer. So maybe...
give us a call at the extension office at 336-599-1195 and ask to speak to Jennifer Grable.
And Jennifer could answer that question for you. And, my mother years ago used to do some dehydrating of fruit, and I was thinking that she would freeze hers, but I'm not sure what you would have to do about it if you wanted to, can it and stuff like that. So, but that's a good question, but unfortunately, Carl or myself neither have the answer. But again, you can call up to the Person County Cooperative Extension Service office, 336-599-1195, and speak with Jennifer Grable, and she should be able to get you the answer on that. Well, Carl, I think that's going to about do it for this edition of the Gardener's Corner program.
All righty.
good luck to you and yours in your travels.
Thank you very
to
much.
the Paw Paw Festival
Yeah,
tomorrow.
might
up
see
in
a few people
Winston-Salem. Maybe
there.
so.
Mhm.